Ayanna grew up in a small house in New Orleans, a city full of ghost stories and legends. From a young age, she learned of voodoo spirits and magic. Ayanna was 12 years old when she began to see and hear things that others couldn't. Her family, especially her grandmother Mama Lou, noticed her special gift and started to help her understand it. As Ayanna grew older, her gift became both a blessing and a burden. She attended school like any other child, but her visions set her apart, making it difficult for her to make close friends. Her classmates found her insights unsettling, and she often kept to herself, finding solace in her grandmother's teachings. By the time she reached her teenage years, Ayanna had accepted her gift and the responsibilities that came with it. Her grandmother taught her the art of fortune-telling, introducing her to tarot cards, runes, and the sacred crystal ball. Ayanna's natural talent and intuitive understanding of these tools soon made her a sought-after fortune teller in the French Quarter of New Orleans. Dr. Marcus Reed was a man of science. As a young doctor in New Orleans, he did not believe in ghosts or magic. Marcus thought all superstitions were silly. But everything was about to change. It was the night shift. Dr. Marcus made his rounds through the dimly lit halls of the hospital. The only sound was the low, distant hum of machinery. The fluorescent lights flickered occasionally, throwing scary shadows that danced on the walls. As he turned a corner, he noticed an old man wearing a hospital gown and slippers standing ominously in the middle of the corridor. The man's face was pallid and sunken, his eyes staring vacantly ahead as if waiting for Marcus. The air seemed to grow colder, and a sense of unease gripped Marcus's heart. "Is there anything I can do for you? Are you lost?" Marcus asked, his voice echoing in the empty corridor. "Which room are you staying in?" "They put me in there," the old man replied, his voice a raspy whisper that seemed to chill the very air. Marcus followed the direction of the man's bony finger and looked at the door. On it was written, "Hospital Morgue." Marcus felt a shiver run down his spine, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. "No, sir, you're mistaken. That room is a secure area." "It's off limits," Marcus said firmly, trying to maintain his composure despite the growing fear inside him. "Stay here, I'll call a nurse." "I'll be right back," Marcus said, beginning to walk quickly in the direction of the nurse's station, his footsteps echoing loudly in the quiet hall. "See you later, alligator," the old man croaked, his voice carrying a haunting, almost mocking tone. Marcus stopped dead in his tracks and turned, but the old man was gone. Vanished into thin air. His father used to always say that. "See you later, alligator." It was a line from the chorus of an old song by Bill Haley. He'd say it when he was leaving the house, and Marcus would respond with, after a while, crocodile. His father had died years ago. The hospital corridor seemed to close in on him. Panic surged through him as he turned and hurried down the hall, bursting into the break room. He took a drink of water, trying to steady his trembling hands. Jasmine, one of the nurses on duty that night, noticed his troubled expression. "Are you all right? You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, concerned. "I think I just did," Marcus said. The strange event made Marcus wonder about the line between the living and the dead. He and Jasmine went to the morgue and found the body of the old man Marcus had seen in the hallway. The man had been dead for hours before Marcus saw him, and the morgue door had been locked. Marcus felt like his view of the world had changed. How could such a thing happen? Marcus asked Jasmine, his voice shaking. "Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I haven't been getting enough sleep lately." "Or maybe you saw what you saw," Jasmine interrupted. "You know, there are things in this world that science cannot explain. You need to open your mind to possibilities." Marcus turned to face Jasmine, his eyes searching for answers. "If so, was my father trying to contact me? I think maybe he was, and if he is trying to contact you, then you need to make it easier for him." Jasmine's eyes widened slightly. "You know, there's a girl in the French Quarter I go to sometimes. She tells fortunes, but she can also talk to dead people. Maybe you should talk to her?" "A fortune teller?" Marcus raised an eyebrow, skeptical yet intrigued. Jasmine stood up, a determined look on her face. "I have to get back to work." She smiled reassuringly. "See you later, alligator." After a while, crocodile, Marcus said almost to himself, the familiar phrase bringing back a rush of memories of his father. Jasmine paused for a moment, her hand on the door. "Marcus, whatever this is, you're not alone in it. Just remember that." Marcus nodded, feeling a mix of fear and curiosity. The hospital corridor, once a place of routine, now felt like a gateway to the unknown. That weekend, Marcus went to the French Quarter. He walked through the busy streets until he found a small, unassuming shop. The sign above the door read Ayana's Mystical Insights. He stepped into a dimly lit room that made him feel like he had entered another world. The room was full of interesting old and mysterious decorations. The walls were covered with heavy fabrics in deep colors like purple, burgundy, and gold. Shelves were lined with peculiar items, crystals of all shapes and sizes, incense burners with exotic smells, and tarot cards neatly arranged in pretty boxes. Mama Lou, who still lived with Ayana, appeared and said, "Welcome, young man, can I help you?" "Yes, I have an appointment with Ayana, Marcus said. I need to ask for the money first. It's nothing personal, but some people don't like paying if they get bad news, Mama Lou said firmly. Yes, of course, I understand, Marcus replied, reaching for his wallet and giving her the money. Mama Lou left the room with the payment. Ayana will be with you in a minute, she said as she walked away. Marcus was sure that what he had seen in the hallway the night before was real. Even though Jasmine strongly recommended Ayana, he did not trust fortune tellers. He thought they often took advantage of people who were sad or had lost someone. He was ready to listen but did not want to be fooled. He knew that fortune tellers often made guesses based on general information and small details they noticed. She would probably look at his body language, clothes, and other things to make educated guesses that seemed personal. Marcus expected to hear vague and general statements that could apply to almost anyone but felt specific. He thought she might say things like, "You've lost someone close to you," or "You need approval from others." A soft chime at the door interrupted his thoughts. When she appeared from behind a door, she was nothing like he had imagined. She was exotic, mysterious, and very young. He had never seen anyone quite like her. "You're a doctor," she said. Marcus was both surprised and impressed. "You signed your email with Dr. Marcus Reed," Ayana said, smiling. "That's how I know." "I thought doctors didn't believe in the supernatural," Ayana teased. "I didn't, until a few days ago," Marcus replied. "What changed your mind?" Ayana asked, gesturing for him to sit. Ayana sat in the chair opposite him, the crystal ball between them. "Tell me." Marcus hesitated before explaining his encounter with the mysterious patient. He tried to appear composed, but his hands were shaking. Ayana listened carefully, her eyes seemed to look through him. As he spoke, her expression grew increasingly troubled. She sensed a dark foreboding in Marcus's future, something she struggled to hide. When Marcus was finished, she began to speak in a low, melodic voice. "The old man you saw was caught between worlds," she said softly. "He was a spirit, a messenger from the other side. A connection to your past and your future. But it's been 8 years since he died." "Why now? Why those words?" Marcus asked. "Your father's words were not a coincidence, they are a key to understanding what lies ahead," Ayana explained. After a moment, she said, "Let's see what the spirits have to say about your future." She placed her hands on the crystal ball and as she focused, the room seemed to grow colder, the mists within the ball swirling rapidly. Marcus watched as Ayana's eyes moved, showing care and understanding. After a moment, she looked up. She had seen something, a future so dark it made her shiver. Instead of talking, she picked up a piece of paper and started writing. Marcus watched her silently, the doubt in his eyes slowly giving way to curiosity. Ayanna folded the paper and slipped it into an envelope, sealing it carefully. "Dr. Reed," she said, her voice low and otherworldly, "some messages are not meant to be understood in the moment. Your father's words are a key, but the door they unlock remains hidden until the time is right." She slid the envelope across the table, her gaze unflinching. "This is your future. But do not open it until you are home," she instructed. Her voice was steady, but inside, her heart pounded. Marcus raised an eyebrow, took the envelope without protest and slipped it into his jacket pocket. "I'll do as you say," he said, standing up. "I will not see you again," Ayanna said softly. "You will understand soon enough." The hospital corridors were eerily silent that night, except for the soft hum of fluorescent lights overhead. Nurse Jasmine Monroe's breath came shallow and uneven as she sat in the staff lounge, her hands shaking as she stared at the envelope she had pulled from Dr. Marcus Reed's jacket. His lifeless body had been brought in less than an hour ago, the victim of a freak car accident. Somewhere out in the corridor, a gurney wheel squeaked, and for a fleeting moment, Jasmine swore she felt cold fingers brush the back of her neck. Jasmine hesitated, her thoughts swirling as she opened the envelope. She took out and unfolded the single piece of paper inside, the writing dark and angular, as though written with a trembling hand. The message was brief, but it chilled her to the bone. "You have no future." Suddenly, the silence of the break room fractured. A tinny melody crackled from the old radio on the table. Jasmine froze as the unmistakable opening chords of "See You Later, Alligator" filled the room. The upbeat rhythm felt horribly out of place. She looked at the radio, her heart hammering in her chest. She hadn't touched it, hadn't even noticed it was on. The jaunty chorus mocked her now, the words twisting in her mind. "Don't you know you're in my way now? Don't you know you cramp my style?"